Let's talk about the GH6. Now, before I start rambling about the camera, I just want to say that at the time of recording this video, the war in Ukraine is a few days old. And at this moment, talking about cameras seems a lot less important with that war going on. I am Dutch and thus European, and I am very worried about this attack on Europe. The way I see it, there is no reason whatsoever to justify this invasion of Russia in Ukraine, or any war for that matter. And I hope that Ukraine will get all the support they need. And I hope that you, as my viewers watching this video, will understand and that it will raise some awareness for the ridiculousness of all this and the dangerous behavior of Putin. And with Putin's nuclear threat, it's now affecting the whole world. The Ukrainian people should not have to deal with this, and I will support in any way I can. Now, I expect lots of comments stating that a tech YouTuber shouldn't get himself involved in politics in the videos and that it will hurt my channel and my subscriber count. Well, to answer that up front, I think a military attack on Europe and Russia threatening with nuclear weapons goes beyond politics and is way more important to me than any negative comment or loss of subscribers. I hope that a lot of you, my viewers, will agree with me and will feel and show solidarity with the Ukrainian people. Alright, back to the GH6. So obviously I don't have the camera because I have a small channel and Panasonic is not interested in sending me a GH6 to review it. But I wanted to put out a video to share my thoughts on the new GH6. Looks like the body is very well designed. It's a bit bigger than the GH5 because of the built-in fan. I like the Lumix designs usually, but most of all, I like the customizability of these cameras. And the GH6 is no different. Given that the GH6 is a video-centric camera, I really like the addition of the dedicated audio button on the top. And if you press that, a screen pops up with all your audio information. That's really useful. The camera also has two record buttons, one on the front and one on the top. And the one on the front can be useful when you use the camera on the shoulder rig or when you're filming yourself. In addition, it also has tally lights on the front and on the back, so you can see whether you're actually recording. One physical feature I really like about this camera body is that it has a screen that tilts as well as fully articulates. I like that because for handheld shooting or even for shooting on a tripod, I like to have the screen aligned with the focal plane of the camera and not to the side. And you can do that with a tilt screen. But I also want a fully articulating screen when, for example, filming myself or when shooting at a difficult angle. The GH6 is also weather sealed, just like my G9. And to me that's very important because I shoot a lot outdoors. So I want a weather sealed camera body. And combined with the weather sealed lenses, it's just a very nice outdoor combination. So the main thing people were obviously curious about was the autofocus system in the GH6 and whether Panasonic switched to phase detect autofocus. Well, they didn't. They stuck with the contrast-based DFD autofocus system. Now for me it's not really that important because I usually use manual focus. But when I do use autofocus, like in these talking head YouTube videos, my G9 already gets the job done. So I can only imagine that the GH6 will do the job even better. But because of the autofocus, the GH6 is not the best vlogging camera. But then again, if you're looking for a camera to specifically vlog with, then the GH6 is probably overkill anyway in terms of video specs. Talking about video specs, this camera is amazing. First of all, it can do 10-bit recording internally in every frame rate and resolution that it offers. So no need for external recorders like an Atomos Ninja or a Blackmagic Video Assist. Also, it has no recording limit in any of the frame rates or resolutions due to better heat dissipation because of the addition of a built-in fan. And I think it's pretty impressive considering the fact that it shoots 5.7K up to 30 frames per second and 4K up to 60 frames per second in 10-bit 422 and 120 frames per second in 10-bit 420, and no crop in any of the frame rates or resolutions. Now, I personally don't necessarily care that much about the 5.7K resolution, but it does open up more possibilities to crop into your image to get closer to your subject whilst still retaining 4K resolution. There will also be ProRes RAW recording in a future update. Now, I haven't used ProRes RAW up till now, so I'll have to see what difference that makes. But talking about ProRes, it already now has the option to record ProRes internally. Of course, this means bigger files, but I'm already used to having files in Apple ProRes because I usually record to an Atomos Ninja in ProRes. But in a future firmware update of the GH6, it will get the possibility to record through its USB-C port to an SSD drive, which solves basically the problem of the bigger files. And it's also cheaper because an SSD is per gigabyte a lot cheaper than a CF Express card or an SD card. And it makes the camera very flexible in terms of storage options. Then the stabilization. I've always been very happy with the stabilization that my G9 offers, but the GH6 is quite a step up to 7.5 stops of stabilization. That would mean that shooting wildlife with, for example, the Panasonic Leica 100 to 400mm handheld becomes easier and the footage becomes more usable. And if you then also shoot in 5.7K and crop in to 4K, you can get incredibly close shots whilst staying at a good distance. Panasonic also worked on dynamic range that they can squeeze out of a Micro Four Thirds sensor by adding what's called dynamic range boost. It bumps up the base ISO to 800 in a standard profile and to 2000 in Vlog, which is now the full version of Vlog and not Vlog L like in the GH5 and the G9. It's supposed to give the GH6 a dynamic range to over 13 stops. Now, I can't really judge if that's the case based on compressed YouTube videos, but it looks promising and it seems like a significant step up in dynamic range. As far as exposure and focus tools is concerned, the GH6 has everything you need, like waveform, vector scope, zebras, focus peaking. But new in the Panasonic Micro Four Thirds cameras is luminance spot meter, which allows you to pick a specific spot in the frame and get a readout of the exposure of that particular spot. And I think that's very useful. Considering the features they pack into this camera, I think it's quite compact still and relatively lightweight, although the GH6 is on the heavier side. And of course, there's a wide range of good lenses available for Micro Four Thirds. So overall, I'm very excited about this new GH6. At this point, I don't know if I will have the budget to buy it anytime soon, but I would get it if I could. So what are your thoughts on the GH6? Let me know in the comments. I hope this video was helpful. If so, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. And I hope to see you next time. Thanks for watching.